like I said, I had never been accused of such a thing until after I met with the um, the FBI to report misconduct. And then here I was being deliberately assaulted by my own government with these horrible, horrific migraines when a lot of people knew that I wasn't going to be treated for them, for the pain. So that was basically torture. I have called, I've basically described my torture as beginning when it happened with me and my son, and that was a different form. They used a different form of technology then, but literally the torture against me began before then, because when they were triggering extreme migraines against me, knowing that I was not going to be treated for them, for the pain level, and deliberately creating that pain to completely disable me, that is torture. That was torture. And it obviously could have been prevented. It obviously interfered with everything that I was trying to do and affected my life. And so at some point, and I do remember that one of the first doctors to write something really, to make me sound really kind of crazy, was Dr. Michael Parnell. And I saw him at the emergency room, and he accused me of being drug seeking, and wrote me up in the chart notes as rambling, delusional, and claiming that I had been raped by the FBI, which I never said such a thing to him ever. I said that I had some stress, a little bit of additional stress, because I had made a misconduct report against a couple of FBI agents. That's all I said. All I said was a misconduct report. I said nothing else. I said not one word about rape. And I said, of course, did not say I was quote unquote raped by the FBI, which makes it sound like I'm accusing the entire Bureau of raping me. Well, I don't know exactly what he was doing. I don't know if he was trying to tell me something, and I don't really think he was, because he wasn't treating my migraine, so that's not doing me a favor. And he kept doubling his report. He put that report in, and then when it started to get buried by other doctors' reports, he put his report in again at the top. Like, made another copy of it, wanted to underline this whole idea again and make me sound nuts again, and put it right at the top of the chart. And I think that possibly his inclusion, his reason for saying that I was raped by the FBI, was possibly to get the FBI even further against me. Because if the FBI knew that I had been raped by several of their agents, and if they were covering that up, and then they see some suggestion in a medical chart that looks like I know about this, and I've made this comment and suggestion to a doctor, then that would put them on guard even more, and make them feel even more defensive, and as if they had obviously a liability and a reason to worry about me. Because if I knew that these agents were FBI, and if I knew that I'd been raped by a number of their agents, then they knew they could be sued. Without any doubt. And probably they knew that they would be in trouble for trying to conceal some of the things that their agents had done. So I really don't know what Dr. Parnell's motives were and why he wrote that, but later, years later, only maybe a year ago, this is years later after he started writing that, I actually started to realize there is something to that. For whatever reason that he wrote that, it is true. It's true that I was raped. And I could say in a sense by the FBI. And not just the FBI, but other federal employees as well. However, I was gang raped by federal and FBI employees. They all knew each other, they knew about each other, and they knew about me, and they set me up. to be repeatedly raped while I was incapacitated, and they made sure that I was incapacitated first. So, and then I'm being assaulted constantly with these migraines, and I wasn't being treated for them. So when I was being assaulted on almost like three times a week, and felt like I was going to die. I mean, this happened for months. It's like I got stuck. I basically got stuck in Washington. I had no college all of a sudden. I had no... My lawsuits were still alive. I was trying to keep them alive, and I wanted to appeal one of them, and I wanted to make sure that the other one didn't fall apart. I was hoping to get back into the loop and start commuting again. However, I was then being assaulted all the time with these migraines, and I was forced, because I didn't have any income and I couldn't go to college at that point, I was forced to take state assistance. Like just a general assistance, because I was suddenly stuck in this weird situation. So, after I first talked to somebody about maybe applying for something like that, I mean, I was just, I could hardly function. The migraine assault was so bad. And it was so extreme that I did pray to God a few times, several times. I knew that for me, religion and my religious beliefs, suicide was not acceptable to me and not in line with what I believed in. Because I believe things can always change, something can always turn a corner, and I felt personally that it's not my right to take my own life, that God has that right. However, I found myself praying every single day, God, please let me die. So I prayed. Every day for God to have mercy on me, enough to let me die. Because the pain was so extreme and unbearable that even though I had so much optimism and I had a lot of talents and I was still young, and even though I wasn't depressed at all, and I had a lot of things to look forward to and things that I was trying to fight for, the pain was ongoing for months. It was almost every day. It was excruciating. And I was turned down from getting any kind of treatment for pain more times than there is a record of. Because most of the time that I went I was going every week. I was suffering, and I was in extreme pain. And after a while, after they refused to treat me repeatedly the first few times, I realized it was pointless, and I didn't go to the ER as much. But yet I was suffering every single day at home in unbearable pain. And at some point, maybe after a month of this, I realized even if they refuse to treat me, I have to go there and have it documented that they are refusing to treat me, that I have showed up at the emergency room to be treated and they're turning me away. And when I began doing this, that's when they tried to provoke me and tried to call me mentally ill even more, and they started bringing up this whole drug seeking thing, like I was just showing up repeatedly for no reason. And then they finally started saying that they would treat me for tension headaches, but they knew that they were not tension headaches. These were the most severe kind of migraines that you could have. They felt more like, I've read description of cluster migraines and regular migraines. They were on the scale of cluster headaches. They were the most severe kind of headache you could have. And as much of a Christian as I was, and with having only the kind of criminal history as having mooned a sailboat when I was 11 and being worried about police then, having no other kind of history behind me, no reason to feel depressed. I mean, I was stressed out, but I had a lot of things going for me. I was wanting to go to law school. I wasn't depressed about having my travel blocked. I was trying to fight that and trying to get things corrected. So there was no inherent depression of any kind, and I have always had a lot of optimism and a lot of energy. But the level of pain, I've already said that, and I'm repeating myself now, but I have no words to describe how bad it was, other than to say that every single day I devoted myself to prayer, that God would please give me some way to die, that He would please allow me to die instead of to suffer like that. After praying to God to please let me die, instead of suffer in excruciating pain, I then had a suicide attempt. And it was one time, and I just hoped, I knew God would understand. And I hoped that it would be very fast and painless, but instead I started having a lot of weird sensations, and I had this idea all of a sudden this was not going to be a quick death. It was going to take a very long time. It might be horrible suffering. And I changed my mind, and so then I called the emergency room and had to be picked up by the ambulance. And the other thing that was strange at that time is when they were calling me drug seeking, when I never was, I then showed up, with this suicide attempt because of their refusal to treat me for my extreme pain. And I had already, at that point, I had given them documentation that proved I had migraines. So they had proof that they had been slandering me, saying I had tension headaches and not migraines, when they had evidence that I had migraines. So they're calling me drug seeking and refusing to treat my pain it was looking more like defamation by them, and I had said I might sue them for defamation. So then all of a sudden I have this suicide attempt. I end up in the emergency room, and when I got out, nobody told me that one of the doctors or lab technicians or somebody had put into my record that when they did a blood sample from me, or a urine sample or something, that they found quote-unquote THC. So they tested me as quote-unquote positive for THC, when not once in my entire life had I ever taken any marijuana of any kind. I had not been eating poppy seed muffins. I hadn't been around anybody who ate or smoked marijuana. I had not even smelled it. And I had smelled the scent before in Portland when walking down the sidewalk a couple times, and someone said that that's what that was. So since someone pointed it out to me one time in Oregon, I knew how it smelled, and I knew. And actually, I went to an after party one time,